So let's talk about your abdominal wall. So when we're talking about core stability, we're thinking about, or we're talking about the muscles that are located right around this area here. So if you draw a line from the front, right in line with your navel, right around your waist and right around to the back. So this is the abdominal wall, and we have our core muscles located right in the center, closest to the spine. And we're talking about the layered effect of muscles from the spine outwards. So depending on the intensity of the movement we do, more muscles will help out. But at the start, if we're doing something very easy, then we want to keep the challenge in the abdominals quite subtle. So when we're talking about having a nice balanced core, what we're talking about is feeling the front, the back, and the sides work evenly. So your core works in all positions. So what you're trying to do is feel balance of muscle working in all positions. What we do on Pilates on the mat is we pick one position that you can feel the balance, and then you will know within what you need to feel as you transition that onto the bike or as you transition that into your walk. And then you can notice if you come out of balance. What do I mean by that? Well, if we find that as we get a little bit more fatigued in our cycle or our walk, we might find that we start to tighten our back and we feel our abdominals start to drop or open, and then we feel congested in the back. Or you might find the opposite happens when you're out in your activity, that you find you start to tuck your tailbone, grip your backside and front, but the back stays long. So then you're working more front than the back. So the front and the hips are going to get fatigued. You also might find the same side to side that you start to drop into one side and you feel the pull going right into your shoulder blade or the other side. So noticing when you're out of balance within your abdominal wall, working your core is key to then shifting around and finding that equal balance again. We're going to look at ways that you can bring length into the lower back if you feel you're defaulting, or we can bring length into the abdominals and open the hips if you need to go the other way. And again, stretching and movement into the sides with rotational work as we're on the mat. So let's see that in practice in the exercises. So to find the position of our body closest to what we do when we have in standing, what we do is just gently rock the pelvis, and we find a point that we're not pushed into our lower back or totally extended out of the lower back. You find a halfway point and you feel that you're sitting released on the center back of your pelvis, on your sacrum, and your backside is even with it on the floor. In having that pelvis nice and stabilized, your rib cage as well, because it's the muscles that connect both, you're looking for the rib cage to be nice and wide and deep on the floor. And as you exhale, chest away from chin. So like that, you don't feel like you're flared in the rib cage, pulling up, or you don't feel like you're rounded into the floor, which again pulls on the abdominals. So you're thinking upper body and lower body to keep this nice balanced engagement. So we bring our hands and fingers into that space for a little bit of proprioception. So we take the challenge from the legs to begin with. So how I do that is I take a little bit out of the legs by floating onto the tippy toes, and I feel the support coming from the muscles around my waist, my back, my abdominals, and my obliques here to the side. And then I'm noticing, can I keep my pelvis and rib cage steady as I start to quietly lift and lower my legs? Now you might find, like we talked before, that you feel that your abdominals might start to lengthen and your back tighten, which results in this, which we don't want. Or you might find the same, that you start to push into the back and cling onto the hips, which is this. So that's why we're trying to train ourselves to stay in that lovely neutral position. And we know we can do that without a pop or a pooch of the abdominals, which means you've defaulted into your back too much, or feel any pressure on the back from gripping. And we notice as we come up and down, we feel a little bit of extra connection if we start to transition the legs up off the floor. So again, the more challenge the more subtle you have to find those muscles work. And so you might find that you get to a point that you're not able to hold that lovely balance. A way to get more length into the back we talked about is feeling the sit bones and reaching the cheeks of the backside to the end of the mat. And that keeps loads of length that way. And then you're thinking of your pelvis feeling nice and wide to the back as well. So long and wide in the back. And we keep that nice hold to the front to match the back. And you're breathing. Now we'd use it in this position. We also use it in this position as well, the side kicks, because no matter what position we were on a side or back or tummy, we still want to keep this balanced work here. So to get the legs going, again, the waist, we try and keep the waist long as we lift the legs. We try and keep the space here even and nice and taut as we go forward and as we go back, so we don't feel we're swinging out of the spine. We're keeping the spine steady and feel the drive from our legs. And also when we're on our hands and knees, we're feeling that balance to the side, waist and back, so that we keep this nice and steady as we start to move into our leg work here as well. So of course in this one, I could very easily default into my back. Can you see that? And my abdominal stretch, or I can keep it nice and balanced and just feel my leg work, that propulsion from my leg. Yeah, we also keep the waist nice and long so you don't feel your hip is hiking up into your shoulder. We keep that length in. So it takes just a little bit of time and awareness as you go through, but as you can see, learning on the mat and then bringing it up into your bicycle position, how helpful that can be, into your walk position when you're trying to keep your shoulders over your hips and you're doing your movement as you walk or as you run. All of those, all that feedback on the mat, all that is like a little toolbox that you can use when you're out in your environment to get a more pain-free dynamic movement and drive from your center in your activity.